All right, so we are going to breeze through you guys pond calling. I am super excited that you guys are going to be in there. I don't remember, Holly told me once how statistically how long it takes before people start actually purchasing. Well, how far in advance do they begin their search online? I don't know the answer, but Holly at one point dropped some really extensive 2-year search, and I was like, holy cow, we are sending these leads to the pond and we never touch them again, except for when we get time. So there's lots of cool stuff in there, and most of those leads are, anywhere from 6 months to 7 years old. And so what I did for you guys on here was just kind of put together a best practices guide for when you get in there so that you can do it freely and be able to move around in there with filters and just be a little bit more confident in what you're doing. Because I don't want you to get in there and just call 100 leads and nobody answer, because that defeats the purpose of being in there. So I included in here your pond login and password. You can't do it from your own account. You do have to log in as the pond to gain access to those leads. So in here, I just wrote up a little intro for you guys, letting you know that you'd have to log in. And what I've done is just set it up so that when you log in, all you have to do is click on the contacts and then choose the filter that you would like to call on for that day, because I've already preset those for you as well.
What is the pond?
Oh, the pond is a database full of 50,000 leads. And I also added a really pretty little picture for you guys that shows you that in a page if Tanner would just wait. I'm just kidding. So I've set up all these pre-filters for you guys. All you have to do is get in there and click on them and start calling. You can text these leads also. You can email these leads. You can work them as if you're an ISA. We are the ones that work all the internet leads and set you up with these appointments, and we ask them basically 6 questions, and then we decide whether or not we want to meet with them and send them through. So you guys get to kind of be your own judge in there too. Is this somebody I would want to meet with? Are they being realistic? And then if they're not, you don't have to book it. Tell them have a good day, right? So I've also attached the 2 scripts that we use for you guys in there, and those are all the way on the back. So if you just turn, I just literally screenshotted all this and took pretty little pictures so that you guys know exactly what you're doing, and then we can browse through this and hopefully get some role playing in. But when you're logged into Property Base, which is our CRM, our database management system, you have to make sure you're connected to it or else it doesn't work. So if you get that little yellow error, just click out of it and then make sure that you connect. And once it's on the 3rd page, it shows that it is connected. And if you have that little green light, you're good to go. It's just how Property Base works. I'm not really sure why yet, but
If not, the pop-ups are gone.
okay.
We always allow pop-ups.
For it to be able to work.
The green light will show up.
Perfect. So once you are logged into the pond, this is where 50,000 leads are, literally of all sources that you can imagine. And some we don't have anymore, but they were a source 3 years ago. And I think it's really neat because sometimes we'll see Realtor.com leads that we had talked to 3 years ago before we got rid of it that are now putting in Zillow inquiries, and they're taking their search much more seriously. And we had talked to them then and not thought that they were that great. And now we pull it up and here are 3 cabin inquiries because their search has advanced so much. So once you're in there, you have access to 50,000 of those. Yeah, it's awesome. So again, they do start searching online for years before they purchase, unless they're a super high D investor and they're just ready to pull the plug immediately. So what we do in there is we have so much incoming that we focus on the buyers and sellers that are looking to make a move in the next year. And those are the ones that we work really hard and try to get in front of. If they are further out, we still want them, but we put them on a campaign, a drip campaign, and then send them to the pond, which is what you guys will be working. And we get in there and work too. I love it. Every time I have a couple hours, I'll get in there. I've made, I think the most appointments I've made in one sitting was 5 in a 3-hour period. And it was just sellers, just boom, 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 boom. Yeah, I'm looking to make a move in the next 6 months. And so when you really focus on your filters and who you're calling, you can have really good results in there. So when you log in, all you have to do is go to the contacts tab. That's it. And what I did was set up all of these filters for you. So if you click that drop down menu right there, you'll be able to view all of the different filters that you can get in there and play with. And on the next page, I will tell you what the 7 filters are. I did 7 for you guys that I think are strong filters, because again, I don't want you to call a bunch of internet leads that don't convert very well. The thing about being in the pond is that you want to spend the time on the highest converting lead sources. So make sure that you're chasing expensive and good leads. So I put all buyers in there. Pond call all buyers. If you want to get in there and send an email to 100 buyers, go for it. If you want to get in there and just pull up buyers and just call and get your own opinions on lead sources, also okay. So there's that list for you to move freely on. I also did the property-based scores 5 and up. That's a buyer and seller one, but property-based scores the leads based on how well they think they are. So I did 5 and up. So you have, hopefully that's a pretty good one. I haven't tried it out yet. Zillow leads. Zillow is, without a doubt, our best converting buyer source that we have. And so I put it all in caps so that you guys can click on that one and it'll get the attention that it needs. It's really expensive, and Tracy makes us monitor it very closely. But it's probably a really good place to spend your time. Typically, Zillow buyers are pretty good. And then I also added upon buyers last active. So just those may have been people that we just spoke with, but it could also be somebody that we sent to the pond a year ago that is searching online, and so that activity is showing up now that they're in the pond. I don't know what your guys' restrictions are going to be as far as calling sellers, because I'm sure that you're not taking listing appointments yet. But what I did was go ahead and set up seller filters for you guys also, because once you do get released to take listing appointments, this is a really great way to start, because the seller pond, you get so much response from the sellers in the pond. They have a great show rate, and you can't mess anything up in there because they're in the pond. You'll never get in trouble for pulling somebody from the pond, ever. So when you get released and you have that freedom and you're like, oh, I would really like some more business, you can get in there whenever you want. So I went ahead and set those up. I did a pond calls with all sellers, again, just like for the buyer list, so you can see each source and pick which one you want or are comfortable doing. I did a Z buyer. I like Z buyer a lot, because what people are doing on Z buyer is they're going online and they're looking for an online home evaluation request. Maybe they're refinancing, maybe they're thinking about selling, maybe they were thinking about selling 2 years ago and they're ready now. So I really like that source. I also put expired and for sale by owner on there. Don't call them unless you have permission, though. Also, don't text them and do not email them ever. But if Holly and Tanner give you the go-ahead to call expireds, those are great. Those people listed their home at one point in time and it expired for whatever reason, and they were frustrated because whenever their house expires, 200 agents start calling them, so we never reach them. And then we send them to the pond and they might reconsider a year later. So that's also a pretty good filter, but just make sure you get permission first for that.
There is a specific script.
I included, yes.
The expired, so.
She's got it.
Yeah, no, I just want to make sure everybody knows that that's a different animal.
Different beast of its
own. It takes
own.
a while to learn that one because it's strategic in how it's laid out.
Oh yeah.
And we also send them letters, so they're getting a series of like 6 or 7 letters constantly from us, which is why we're hitting them with phone calls. They're also being mailed to.
Yeah.
So that's the combination that we're trying to get for it.
It's a very direct form of marketing.
Correct.
And so when you say, hey, I'm with Kings of Real Estate, they'll know. They'll know. We've been mailing them for however many months that it's been. But I did include the script for you to practice. I wouldn't recommend ever just jumping into them, but again, that's also going to be one of those things where make sure you get permission from your team leaders before even calling them. And I did not include Vulcans in any of the other seller lists, because if you're going to call them, you need to be intentional about what you're doing and what you're saying, because they're tough. I won't lie. So if you click on any filter, this bottom picture here is just what your contact looks like for any filter. And there's going to be anywhere from 50 to, 5,000 on any of those filters. And you can just browse through them by page or click on them. If you make contact with anybody, please note it. There are multiple ways to notate conversations in property-based, which is great. So nobody has an excuse to not put in notes, because there's like 17,000 different ways to do it. But you can use Chatter is probably the easiest, and that's just a tab that you click on, and you can just, it's an automatic feed. So every note will pull up if you put it in Chatter, and you just type it in there. You can also log the call and put in notes that way. So I've added photos for there, because it's really important that we take notes. If somebody says, hey, you guys have blown me up, please don't ever contact me again, please unsubscribe them. And that's okay. If somebody tells you to not contact them, please unsubscribe them. Because I don't want to then get in the pond and contact them again and then be like, oh, what the crap, I spoke with this person 2 weeks ago and told them to do that. People do get frustrated. So don't ever hesitate. On this page is just another way that you can log your activity. There's honestly like 7 different ways you can log notes in property-based. It's so crazy. If you guys decide after working in these filters that you want to create your own filter in the pond to work, that's awesome and great. And so I would probably check with maybe Tanner or myself or any of the ISAs, honestly, because we work in there a lot. I guess probably the admins, but they're pretty busy. Check with us and have us, just to make sure that you are doing it right. You can always just take a screenshot of what filters you've applied and we can say, yeah, that's great. But I did include in here some screenshots of what it would look like for you to create your own filter. The biggest thing about creating filters is that you definitely don't want to include Greg's leads. Don't call Greg's leads. Like, don't call another agent signed client. So that's why it's important to make sure that your filters are correct before you start calling. And now property-based is this massive data system that you can create your own filters by just copying the contact list and then manipulating the filters to fit what you want. But you have to clone the contact list first, because you don't want to work from the original one with your filters, because then the whole company only sees what you saved. So I just included.
I was going to say, and one of the reasons is the database is completely open on the pond, which is why she's saying don't call Greg's leads or an agent. Currently, as an OSA, you have limited visibility. Like, you can only see the things assigned to yourself. So once you get into the pond, you have access to the entire database. My leads, Holly's leads, Greg, all the OSAs. So if you go in there and you're calling, you're not paying attention, you could potentially be calling a signed client we've already got because you didn't set up the filters the right way.
Yeah.
So don't do that.
And it's confusing. Like, if you call a signed client and they're like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm already working with this agent.
Yes.
It does happen, and it will probably happen again, but like, it's not fun.
So just my recommendation is to use the filters that Sasha has set up. There's 7 great filters. Yeah. Just use those. If you feel like you want to try something else, get approval. Say, this is what I want, and then somebody else will build it out.
The filters that I created for you guys are really good. There's like, I thought to myself, like, I don't want you guys to get in there and get discouraged and think that the pond is not a great place, because the pond is a great place, and I get appointments in there all of the time. And so I wanted you guys to have, filters in there that were conducive to your workflow. So on these last pages, I guess they're probably not that important. Definitely, like, if you get to that point where you want to create your own filter, just browse through it, clone it, add your filters, and get it approved before you call anybody else. And feel free to always contact me or any of the ISAs with questions, because we love helping. We're always like in our own little dark dungeon, and we love helping people. So you can ask us questions about anything all the time. Couple things though with you when you do reach somebody, if they're a year out and they're buying, don't meet with them. You know, with buyers, you really only want to meet with them if they're like less than 6 months. If it's a seller and they're selling within the year, definitely get in front of them early. If they're looking at $100,000 properties, just move on. You know, tell them, hey, you know, thanks for the update. Call me if you have questions, and move on. Still always be nice. Just don't schedule a face-to-face. Just pick things that you know are reasonable. You don't have to meet with everybody. You want to spend your time focusing on the best leads. So I did attach 2 scripts. We're not really going to go over this Vulcan script just because I don't know that all of you will ever even get in there. But if you get to that point that you do want to get in there and call sellers, I'm right there, and we can role play at any point in time. But I did include the universal callback script for you guys. Now this is what you will use in the pond. And it's basically you just want to have a strong, friendly intro, and you ask a couple of questions, and if they answer all those questions right, you make an offer and meet with them face to face. So I always go with the old, if you're going to be in the pond, you're going to do the old lead and the old seller lead intros, depending on what you're calling. This is an old script that I've been using for like 2.5 years. So it has our very old website on there. Obviously that's not our current website. And depending on the lead source, they might not have been on our website at all. If it was a Zillow lead or, I'm trying to think of, Realtor.com, those people were never on our website. So acknowledge what their source is. If they were on kingsofrealestate.com, you can mention that. If not, don't even bring it up. So you'll just go right into it and say, hey, this is Sasha with Kings of Real Estate, and I was just calling because not too long ago you had requested to search homes for sale on our website, and I just wanted to follow up and see if you had bought a home yet. And people will give you a straight answer. They'll be like, yeah or no. And if they say yes, you just move on to the very next question that's lined up right here. Are you looking to make a move in the next 3 to 6 months? Yes, keep going. No? All right, have a good day. Like, get off the phone. The conversation, you don't need to continue a conversation, but still be friendly, offer help and question, if you ever need questions, go for it. Do you currently rent or own your home is important. I tend to push harder. If they tell me that they're renting, I will ask them if they've ever purchased a home and if it's their first time, just because I want strong appointments for you guys. So I tend to dig a little bit deeper when they tell me that they rent. But if they tell me that they own, the next question would be, do you need to sell first or buy first? Because some people can buy first, but most people need to sell first. If they need to sell first, you switch over to the seller side and continue with that script. And don't repeat the questions, so don't go back up to 1. You would just move right to, do you have a realtor to help you when the time is right? Yes or no. One thing that I would always say is a tip if you guys are going to be pond calling, if somebody tells you that they have a realtor, that doesn't mean that they have a realtor. Some people will tell you that to get you off the phone. Some people will tell you that because they've never worked with a realtor before, so they think that they're committed to that realtor, and they're like, oh yeah, I've been talking to this one realtor for a month, I'm good to go. And so ask them, did you sign a contract to work exclusively with that realtor? Because if you didn't, then you're fair game to me. And I can keep going because I know that we have more to offer than what your agent is currently doing for you. So you can make an offer to them if they didn't sign a contract. And most of them will be like, oh, I didn't even know I had to sign a contract. So you move on. And if they're a sell-first person, make that sell-first CMA offer. This is exactly what we say to leads before you guys are meeting with them. I think that our seller offer is really good. You will run into a lot of sellers working buyer leads. It's just the nature of the beast. But so be confident in that offer. When we go, we get them to agree to a free market evaluation. I always reiterate that things are free of cost and obligation. You're not obligated to ever buy or sell a home. You're not obligated to sign a contract with us. We cannot make you do anything. What we can do is tell you that if you want access to what we're going to give you, you have to sign a contract. But when you're on the phone with them, always tell them that they're not obligated to do anything. Somebody says, "Do I have to sign a contract to get all that stuff?" No, you're not obligated to sign a contract. So don't give them answers that you would give them when you meet them face to face over the phone, because then they're never going to meet with you. Just tell them yes, 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 and get them to meet with you face to face, show them everything that you guys have to offer, and get them to sign. So it's a really strong offer. If you talk to somebody and they answer all your questions right, you get them really hyped up about our home hunter service. It's kind of lengthy, but if they answer all your questions right on the buy side, and you say, "I think that this would be a really great buyer, I'm going to offer it to them," you can tier it. You don't have to follow this word for word. I'm not even going to tell you to follow this word for word, because you will lose buyers if you do that. If you're on the phone with some surrogate buyer, they don't care about your foreclosures and distress sales. They literally don't. They care about your coming soon properties and access to listings that they can't find online. So tier that around your audience. So just enter in there, say I am talking to a surrogate buyer. I'm gonna make the offer to them. They checked out. They can buy before selling, and they're ready to make a move at the end of the school year after their kids graduate high school. So that's on 3 months. They should be searching. I would say, would you like it, or would you like for us to email you daily updates of homes that match your home buying criteria from every real estate company out there? Our list would include all of their properties, as well as give you first access to our coming soon listing, so that you have the chance to beat out the other buyers before they're even online. And people are like, "Oh my gosh, yes, that's great. I'll totally meet with you." Then you book the appointment, and that's it. Does anybody want to role play or no? You guys also can log into any role playing calls with Craig, Proctor, and Todd on Thursdays, and those are a really big help when it comes to navigating this, because it's like, where do I go? What do I do? Where do I go next? But once you do it, it does make sense. I know Terry even drew lines on hers. Like if this person says yes, where do I go? And that helps too.
So why don't we get somebody to not a would you, who wants to volunteer? And Sasha will be the ISA.
Yeah, I'll be the
You're
ISA.
buyer. Yeah, you don't have to be the ISA.
Yeah.
I'll be the buyer.
You're gonna be the buyer? All right.
I've heard Bridget do it a few times, but it's
Yeah.
been a long time.
Oh yeah, you sat in there with Bridget. You probably heard everything we say then. You're like, they're so corny. Okay. So ring ring.
Hello?
Hey, is this Tabitha?
Yes.
Hey Tabitha, my name is Sasha, and the reason I was calling is because we had received your request to search homes for sale using our website, kingsofrealestate.com, and as a courtesy, I just wanted to reach out and let you know we saw that and see if you were planning on making a move in the next 3 to 6 months.
Possibly. I'm not really sure. We're still renting right now, but we may be open to it if we find the right house.
Okay. Now, if you were to move, when exactly do you think that might be?
Well, our lease is up in July, so after that, I think they're going to allow us to do a month to month, so.
Perfect. And do you have a realtor to help you when your time is right?
We called a few listing agents to get us in a few properties we're interested in, but not really.
Okay. You didn't sign any agreement to work exclusively with any of them?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, if we were to find you a home tomorrow, is it something you'd be ready to pull the trigger on, or would you need to speak with a lender first?
Probably just want to confirm and talk to the lender. I've talked to the lender, but it's been 6 months ago. Things haven't really changed too much. If anything, it should be better, but I probably need to talk to him again.
Okay, I could absolutely get you in touch with a local one that does great work if it's right for you.
Okay.
Would you like it if we could start getting you set up to receive daily updates of homes that just specifically match what you're looking for from every real estate company? We would also be able to give you exclusive access to our listings before they even go up online. We'll give you a call as soon as we take the listing so that you have the chance to beat out the other buyers. Is that something that would be helpful for you?
Yeah, that actually sounds really good.
All right. So when do you think that we could get together with you for about 20 minutes just so we could take down exactly what you're looking for and get you set up?
Can we not do this over the phone?
Unfortunately, we really want to do a really good job, so we can't. Rather than emailing you a ton of listings that are just vague and may or may not be what you're looking for, we prefer to sit down so that we can do a really good job and notify you of the perfect home immediately.
Okay, I'm usually good on weekends, anytime. The earlier the better, probably.
Okay, so mornings, how about maybe 9 or 10 a.m.?
10 would be good.
Okay, would you prefer, I guess Saturday or Sunday? I would never offer a 9 a.m. spot on Sunday, but I would say, Friday or Saturday. And so Saturday?
Saturday's good.
Perfect. And then you can go over with them, this is our address, confirm the time, and reiterate, I would say, hey, so looking forward to meeting you at 10 a.m. on Saturday. Just to reiterate, we're going to be taking down exactly what you're looking for and getting you set up to receive updates of homes. This is completely free of cost and obligation. Because if they think that they're going to show up and you're going to rope them into something, they're not going to show up. Buyers just won't show up. So you got to make them feel like you're doing a favor all the time.
Good job.
You guys can do it.
Yeah, that's good.
You guys can do it.
Do you feel like people do say, can I just tell you what I want over the phone? Do you get that?
Yeah, people definitely do say that, and I tell them no. I used to think like, oh, maybe, and now I just say no. I'm sorry. No, we really want to do a good job, and I want to get a feel for what it is that you're looking for, and we can't do that over the phone. And then people are like, okay, and if they dig even further, you can handle their objection as best as possible. Like I've even somebody has asked me multiple times and I've been like, all right, so like how much time do you spend looking at homes online? And they'll be like, oh, I look at them every day for hours. And I'm like, well, we want to be able to send you 3 that are perfect, and that way it doesn't all run together. And when I spell it out like that for them, they're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's great. Like where do I come again? And so you just have to feel it out and tell them we have to meet face to face, because if you don't meet face to face, then you can't show them you can't establish any value.
Very good. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
And did anybody have any questions?
I did on the pond. Is there a way that you could search or filter the pond based on like zip code or classification type? Like say you want to zoom in on sellers with multifamily properties, can you do that?
Not from property base, no, because we will only have access to whatever properties they have inquired about, and so we wouldn't be able to filter that. But you can filter by zip code. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot. So like Sasha and Tanner were saying, if you log in and you do not filter without asking her, I'm just going to put it back on Sasha and say, if there's like a filter you want set up, just have her set it up.
I can always log in there, and do it and be like, name it for you. Just tell me what you want and I'll put your name in there and be like, this is your filter. Then you can log back in.
And I should have like opened for Sasha, because I know like for Scott and Matt, I haven't even had a chance to, because you guys are so new, haven't had a chance to go over like our 30, 60, 90 day onboarding. So a portion of that is pond calling. And the reason that we do that is I got to do my pond calling sitting next to Tracy, sweating my guts out. I was like, good Lord, help us. And he's like, yeah, why don't you just come in and call from the pond? We had no training like this. And I was just handed this script.
Here you go.
And he is sitting next to me. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. But I didn't die. And I am still living. And I actually made myself an appointment. I was like, oh, I came out, I was like, I freaking made myself an appointment. I'm like high-fiving people, and the ISAs are like, great, that's what we do every day.
Yeah.
So the reason why we do this is because it gives us, as OSAs, a very good, like, we signed up because of what they do. Like, I think all of us were like, we don't want to do that every day. And so we're here because of you. And so that's a huge portion of it. It also gives you a very good feel for what it is like on their side of things, because I've had many OSAs complain about their appointments, they're not showing up. Well, it's extremely hard. You're going through and buyers and sellers will lie on the phone, not intentionally, but they'll tell you one thing, and then we sit down with them and they have completely changed their story. And so it's just good to get in the ISA's shoes for a little bit and see, so that it gives you a very strong understanding of, you may have booked an appointment and you're like, these people are good. And you go Saturday at 10 and they freaking no-show you. And you're like, oh my gosh.
I thought they liked me.
And then it's like, it clears up all that misunderstanding of, and then it makes you very grateful for all the people that show up and we sign them and we close them. So we are, I am revamping the 30, 60, 90. Right now, it has on there 5 hours of pond calling a week, for 90 days. That is just not sustainable. It is not. And they are making so many appointments. I need you all to do the role of an OSA. But what I do need you to do is get in there, and there is going to be no time limit on it. I don't care how long it takes you, but I just need your top, after you've made calls, what are your top 10 takeaways from making these calls? What did I learn from this? So even our 3 that have been here, you will be doing your top 10 takeaways of what, and you can do it in because you've got your notes from your videos, so just stick it in that same document that you've already shared with me, and that will be awesome, because I can tell you, I learned a lot. Tracy's one feedback to me, he was like, don't ask, is Tabitha there if a woman answers the phone? Just assume you're talking to Tabitha. Now, if a man answers the phone and I am asking, don't say, hey, Tabitha, hi, this is Holly with Kings of Real Estate. And so ask, but that was one thing that he had told me, just go into it. And you're going to get hang-ups along the way. You're going to get different things.
You ask for a certain person, or you just speak, right? I mean, because there's sometimes you get names you can't tell who they are.
Yeah, you can go by the last name. If there's no name, sometimes I'll say, is the person that has this email address available? Sometimes I take Tracy's, direction, and I say, hey, Tabitha, and they're like, this is Tabitha, but it's like a guy, and I'm like, oh, great, Yeah, but even that's the best part about it is that you will definitely eventually have really strong intros to your conversations with people on the phone.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that, because you're pond calling, and this exercise is to get you comfortable with what happens before. Also, what it does is when you run into your friends and family and your sphere of influence, because what happens down the road is we're OSAs, it's like if somebody asks me, hey, I need to buy, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need you to talk to an ISA before you can talk to me, because I need them to clear you. And so this gives you what questions you need to ask the people that you're running into, in the grocery store, at church. It's qualify them so that you're not wasting your time with them. Okay? I think that, can I say one more thing? So Scott, it's if you filtered and there's no names, just skip those guys.
Yeah.
And just move on to where they've got names. So don't get hung up on that.
Do you leave voicemails?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sasha, what would your response be? Because I've actually gotten this before. You call them, they answer, and they say, oh no, my kid must have signed up for that.
Oh, sorry about that. I'll go ahead and fix it on our records. Sometimes people do lie. If that is the response, I mean, that's one that I would just, sorry. Yesterday I had an internet lead where somebody had inquired about a property. I called them on the very first call and I was like, hey, is this this guy? And he's like, yeah. I was like, cool, this is Sasha with Kings of Real Estate. And he's like, oh, I already bought a house. And I was like, so did you inquire about this property yesterday? And he was like, oh, yeah, I did. I'm sorry. I didn't buy a house. And I was like, okay, like I didn't think you did.
You bought a house in one day.
So, exactly. So I mean, if you feel like they're giving you a straight answer, absolutely. Sometimes I just note like, pretty sure this person just lied, and I move on. Because in 6 months we'll call them again, and their response will be different. Mm-hmm. If they didn't ask you to not to unsubscribe them, don't unsubscribe them, because we will circle back around and they'll tell us the truth eventually.
You get a lot of people that think, because I know in the previous one, I got my lease at Realtor.com, they'd be clicking on it and they're like, okay, looking at the picture, I can't tell what color this room is, or asking me questions like that, because they think I'm the listing
Right.
agent.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do in that situation?
Tell them I don't know.
Just,
Yep, I don't know. But is this the only home that you're interested in? And typically they'll be like, well, you know, I found it online and I like this about it. And then you just say, all right, well, would you be interested in other homes in this same area? And 9 out of times 10, the answer is absolutely. And then you get to go ahead and make the offer. So whenever they're focused on that one listing, they're not going to buy that listing. If they were going to buy that listing, they would be calling us and saying, hey, I want to put an offer in on this, or I want to go view this property. They wouldn't just be asking us random questions on a pond call. So just tell them I don't know. I'd love to get that information for you and move on.
But that question of, is this the only house you're interested in, that will totally change like the whole conversation.
Oh yeah, because they might even just say, well, no, I just saw it on Zillow and I liked it. I'm not really even buying for a year. And then it's like, well, I'm not going to chase these answers for you.
Right.
Have a good day. Have a good day.
Yeah.
But nicely say that. Nicely say that. But yeah, just isolate it, and instead always just ask them, are you interested in other homes in that area? And would you like to know about them first? That's it. It's so simple. We just overthink it.
Mm-hmm.